When you destroy the cattle economy, you create a fertile ground for jihadists to have recruitment centers. So it's not surprising now if you see increasing activities of jihadists in the northwestern part of the country. So failure is staring at Ortom in his face. And now we're approaching elections. So how does he create another diversion for the citizens of Benue states to feel that there is one imaginary enemy that want to take over their land? Ranching is a form of livestock production where the animals are kept in a restricted area and feeds are provided for the animals. So it is an intensive form of livestock production, which is highly cost intensive, but remain the best form of modernized livestock development, which every livestock producer will want to have. But the challenge is that it's a very expensive process. It needs huge capital outlay. It needs huge capital outlay, and that is why it has not gotten the required buy-in by the ordinary pastoralists that we have, who have been targeted for anti-open grazing laws. Well, we have had running battles with governors that want to introduce this emergency policy that we see as, if not managed, will destroy our livelihood completely. That's we, the pastoralists. So we feel it's the greatest challenge we have faced since after the rinderpest disease that broke out in the late 70s. Because if today you wake up and you say we cannot rear our animals in the open fields, then automatically you are out to destroy our means of livelihood completely, because it is virtually impossible to adopt ranching as envisaged by those governors that are promoting it by our people, because it's highly expensive. And if you look at the land tenure system we have in the country, where land is vested in the hands of state governors, and before you can get an approval for 5 hectares of land, then the state governor have to sign, if you look at the Land Use Act. So it becomes virtually impossible to implement this ranching. And the way it is being promoted by the proponent, it is not meant to bring about peace. That's why we are opposed to it fundamentally. Not that we don't want ranching as a form of livestock production. No. The way they want to implement it as an emergency measure, and they are looking at the challenge only from the security angle, not looking at the economics, the sociology, and the culture associated with this open grazing we have. And by the way, there has never been a secret grazing. Grazing has always been open since the time of Moses. So when you say anti-open grazing law, is to us it looks satanic, because it's akin to be called Antichrist. Because there have never been, if you look at from the history of the prophets, there have been grazing, there have been herding, and it has never been in secret. So why anti-open grazing? There is no close grazing. If you even look at the developed countries, because I had privilege to go to some countries, particularly particularly in East Africa, where they do a lot of livestock, and then also to the US. I went to Atlanta, Georgia, and we visited some Soko ranches in quote. What they have there is open fields that have common resources, and they are managed by private governments, that is in the US. But if you go to East Africa, for example, what they have is an institutionalized land use management, where the land is divided into three. You have the range land, you have the agricultural land, and you have the open fields for the livestock. So what they do is, when the farmers harvest their crops, the residue now is open to the livestock producers to either buy or pay to graze on them. At the peak of the dry season, the range lands are open now for the livestock to move in. So that is the kind of integrated system they practice there. So that's why you see in East Africa, they don't have this problem. The problem they have there is cattle rustling, which they are using different security measures to tackle. So, coming back here to Nigeria, predominantly in the northern part of the country, we have grazing reserves created right from the First Republic. And most of those grazing reserves have been dilapidated, they have not been developed, some have been encroached, and they are no longer sustainable for even the livestock within those areas. So you have this migration taking place towards southern part of the country and north central part of the country. And then you see, increasingly, we have this challenge of climate that is forcing migrations down south from the northern part of the country. The areas are becoming drier. They can no longer support grasses and shrubs that are supposed to support the animals, and even the water bodies dried up before even end of December. So livestock have to move southwards. That's why you have these internal migrations down south. So also we also have the challenge of increase in population. So all these have led to a lot of movements of the pastoralists. And it's not like it's a new phenomenon. Right from even the colonial periods, there have been provisions for these movements, because we have grazing routes, we have grazing reserves, we have international cattle routes for even herders that come from outside the country. So to wake up all of a sudden to say, okay, I'm going to stop this economic activity, I think it's bound to generate a lot of frictions, and that's what you have been seeing. And I put the challenge squarely at the doorstep of government, both federal and state, and even local governments. If the federal government have actually, through the Livestock Development Department of the Ministry of Agriculture, have developed those grazing reserves we have, I'm sure most of these movements you see southwards will not even take place. But those grazing reserves are not developed. Some have been completely taken over for other agricultural activities or development activities. Like if they create new universities, new polytechnics, the easiest land they will take to convert to those use are livestock lands that were meant for grazing areas. You see, so, and they will not provide alternatives. So you now see this automatic displacement have taken place. So I think these anti-grazing laws, they are still a problem. You see, unfortunately, a state like Benue State, where you have intellectuals, a very well-educated population, they ended up with a governor like His Excellency Samuel Ortom. You see, Governor Samuel Ortom fits into the perfect description of vagabond in power, because there is no any adjective that can explain the behavior of Governor Ortom towards the pastoralists in this country. He has taken it upon himself to destroy the Fulani nation by destroying the economy of the pastoralists. He has taken it upon himself to be a champion for a nebulous cause that only him can explain, the so-called phantom Fulanization, which does not exist. But because of the poor education of Governor Ortom, he has bought into that kind of a propaganda narrative that there is a Fulanization agenda. And he has swallowed that and have taken it upon himself to be the arrowhead of fighting an imaginary Fulanization agenda that don't exist. So he has gone far beyond his bounds in handling this harder farmer conflict. He has turned it into an ethnic dispute between the chief nation and the Fulanis, not only in Nigeria, but in the entire West African sub-region. Because the way he go about this, in the last 7 years, was thereabout, Governor Ortom have launched an unrelenting assault on the livelihood of the pastoralists in Nigeria, particularly within the Nasarawa, Benue border communities, the Taraba, Benue border communities, the Cross River, Benue State border communities. We have lost thousands and thousands of cattle, rolling into millions because of the activities of Governor Ortom and his livestock guards. He created a militia that goes by the name Livestock Guards. What he just saw recently is just a rebranding. They have been there, their only business is to go and steal cattle belonging to herders in Nasarawa border communities, in Taraba, Benue border communities, and now take those animals, cattle, right into the heart of Makadi and put them in an enclosure and begin to auction them under very, very harsh conditions that the herders cannot even afford. So you have auctioned more than 95% of the cattle he have seized, not necessarily from Benue State. You see, if you said livestock have encroached, it is assumed they have entered a farmland. But this case of Governor Ortom and his terrorist squad, he goes in by the name Livestock Guards, they have been seizing cattle from innocent herders, poor herders, smallholder herders who are Nigerians, and nobody have come to their aid. You seize an entire herd belonging to a household, you go and auction it. That is the only thing they have as a means of livelihood. You now seize it completely, and you are the governor of the state. You are the chief security officer. You are supposed to be taking care of all the citizens in that your domain, assuming even those cattle who are seized in Benue State, did they trespass on any land? You have a law that makes provision for ranching. You have refused to allocate the land for the ranching. Even the pilot ranches you say you are going to put in place, you have not put a single hectare of it. You are expelling citizens of a country from where they have been domiciled. That is not enough. You pursue them to where they have moved to. You seize their livestock. You arrest the cattle boys, their children. You throw them into a dungeon. Is that how a governor should behave in this civilized period? We have taken him to Nigerian courts. Give you the why we have to approach International Criminal Court. Governor Ortom, because he's a sitting governor, he has money to hire a retinue of lawyers and sons to be frustrating our cases in Nigeria here. He has never allowed a single case we have filed into the Nigerian courts to be mentioned. At every sitting, they will come with another issue to join the matter, just to frustrate the cause of justice. It's not that we have lost faith in the Nigerian judicial system, but Ortom, being a sitting governor with huge resources at his disposal, he have done everything to frustrate us to get justice in Nigeria. And that is why we felt we have to approach the International Criminal Court because he has violated our fundamental human rights as human beings. He has violated the African Charter. He has violated all the known laws that are supposed to protect humanity. He has seized our people's livelihood. He has not abated. He's consolidating on that trajectory of very wicked policies he has put in place. So the only civilized way to do is to approach the International Criminal Court to seek for justice. Otherwise, then you have anarchy. And another reason why he is rebranding his livestock guards, you see, if you look at the indices of governance across the country, performance by state governors, I'm sure Benue States will be the least in terms of evidence of dividends of democracy. So failure is staring at Ortom in his face. And now we're approaching elections. So how does he create another diversion for the citizens of Benue States to feel that there is one imaginary enemy that want to take over their land and now influence the voting of the citizens? So we see it as purely a political gimmick, but we hope this time the citizens of Benue State must have realized that Governor Ortom and his party have not only failed the people of Benue State, they have been a disaster to what is called the middle belt cause. Like in the case of the Northwest, the epicenter of the conflicts is Zamfara State. And in 2014, I was a member of a security committee instituted by the then Inspector General of Police. We visited 9 states, including Zamfara State, where we spent a whole week to investigate what are the causes, what are the drivers of the conflict in Zamfara State. And we came up with solutions to the government, which till date were not implemented. You see, what you have in the Northwest is a conflict between vigilantes, who are predominantly from the farming communities, and the herders that was allowed to fester. The government, particularly in Zamfara State then, created a vigilante of purely from the farming communities. And the vigilante started now molesting the herders in that state, the Fulani herders in the states, seizing their cattle, arresting their youths, executing them. And now, out of that kind of situation, the Fulanis now created their own vigilantes, which were termed as bandits, to now counter the activities of the farmers' vigilantes created by the state government. And that conflict is showed, and that is what have led to what you see as banditry now in the Northwest. It's purely the harder farmer conflict that was not managed. And because of the political economy of conflicts in Nigeria, state governors and state actors now see the conflicts as avenues to now siphon resources of their states and even to misuse security votes, as you may like to put it. So you have that kind of a endemic situation before the current advent of some of the so-called terrorist groups. You have the ISWAP and then other elements of Boko Haram that were not hitherto in the Northwest, now rearing their ugly heads based on reports of security agencies. But I want to tell you with all sincerity, based on what I know, the herders have no relationship with anything terrorism with any Islamic terror group, whether real or imaginary, their struggle or their fight is purely an economic fight, a developmental challenge, a denial of the right to access of the land resources. And if government can address that, I'm telling you, this conflict will be over. Well, as long as there is injustice in the management of the land resources in this country, you will not end this conflict. Instead, it will be having cycle and manifesting different kind of phases. We hold Sheikh Gumi in high respect because he's courageous, he speaks truth to power, and he has dared to go into the forest. But I think we have to correct one misconception. If you say a heather, the first thing that should come to your mind, he should have herds of cattle. That's what makes him a heather. He should be moving with, even if he's not moving with his family, as the normal tradition, at least he should be moving with his herds of cattle. But when you have armed groups in the forest, defining them as headers, I think it's wrong. It's a wrong nomenclature. And worse is even giving them an ethnic coloration, calling them Fulani herdsmen. I think that is a wrong narrative, it's a wrong description. You understand? So if you have armed groups that have turned this conflict into an economic activity, it has become a criminal economic enterprise, then they can recruit anybody. So if they are in the Northwest, who are the predominant youths in the Northwest? They are either Hausas or Fulanis and few other tribes. So if the Ansaru Islamic insurgents are now going for recruits, where will they go to? They will look for communities that are facing injustice, youths that are not captured by governance. They will go to ungoverned spaces. So naturally, their recruitment centers will be where you have this kind of discontent, ill feelings about the state. So it's if there is failure of the state to give leadership, to ensure that there is authority, then you have all manner of groups now exercising their own pseudo-authorities. So yes, Sheikh Gumi may not be wrong. The only thing that we may correct is him saying they are recruiting headers. No, they are recruiting criminal gangs that have carried arms that are in the forest. That's the correct thing. But it's all the responsibility of the government. If you fail to address security issues before they escalate, they will have different forms of manifestations. And that is what we are facing now. Because Governor Akredelu of Ondo State came out without getting security reports to accuse the Fulani headers of perpetrating that heinous crime. I wrote on the social media to say that attack may likely not be connected with drug people that are doing drug business. Also, my friend castigated me. Now I've been vindicated. Now they have caught the criminals, the terrorists that killed those people in our church. And none of them is a Fulani. I expect the governor to come out and apologize and also compensate the families of those Fulanis that were attacked because of that incident. But because the narrative is always to destroy, castigate the other, penny in bad life, despite all these evidences, just like in Benue, just like in that massacre in the East, in the church, where you have drug lords that came from outside and killed people in the church, like the killing of the Reverend Fathers, Umbalong. Those that killed the Reverend Father have been arrested and they are thieves. They are in jail. Ortom came out and said it's Fulanis that killed them. And the story just died down like that. So you see, if people listening don't act, those that are faced with the problem will be forced to act. And we don't want a situation whereby the citizens will completely lose faith in the authority of the state to manage the state, and they resort to self-help. Like you see all these vigilantes, the state governors are creating, all these volunteers that they are arming, they are not helping the country. What they are trying to show is that there is lack of confidence in the authority of the state to maintain law and order. So we now begin to create your own small army. If the Fulani say now they will create their own vigilantes, which our organization have started working on, have even launched the activity. Do you know how many million we have? It's not thousands. We have them in millions. Will that all go well for the country? When you have non-state actors carrying arms. Now all those so-called volunteers Ortom have recruited, who profile them? Who knows their real background? Some of them may be hardened criminals. You come and now dress them in khaki uniform, and then you begin to hand over weapons to them. They are the one to secure the state. You know, we just laugh at Ortom. Maybe he's running from his shadow. After he leaves power, he thinks those vigilantes will be his personal security. He will be arrested and taken to Hague. I'm assuring you. We will make sure that happens. We have committed a lot of violent crimes against the Fulani herders. He have caused the death of many of them in his own jails, in his dungeon. Are you supposed to detain somebody for more than 48 hours? If he doesn't have a counsel, you go to the legal head counsel and get a counsel for him and charge him to court. But Ortom have kept many of them there, and he has the audacity, he's proud to come to the media and say it. That he has jailed them, he has locked them up in detentions. Does that make him a governor? Does he think that reduces the Fulani nation? He has destroyed the good relationship that exists between the chief and the Fulanis. We have this culture of playing together. We call them Munchi because when we have, there's this story that our grandparents left our cows with them to migrate. When they came back, they didn't meet the cows. They asked them, where is our cows? They say Munchi. That's they have eaten the cows. So we call them Munchi. But Ortom want to destroy that good relationship by force. Because he's poorly educated, he doesn't understand the history, or he's being mischievous, he's being used by his aides. Some of them are professors. I know one in Abu Zaria, in anthropology department. He's one of Ortom advisors. He's the one that is creating all the stories along the Benue Valley, Fulani attempted takeover. They are the ones selling that narrative to him just to collect money. A retinue of lawyers surrounding him, giving him wrong advice, also be siphoning money from the security board he's putting aside. We have done a lot of research about Governor Ortom. In fact, you see, I'm reading this book, Aparaku, The Rise of Minority Politics in Nigeria, just to understand what is the psychology pushing Ortom to behaving the way he's behaving. Because between the Fulani and Tiv, they are like cousins. So Ortom is doing everything possible. Ortom wants to be the Joseph Tucker of the Middle Belt, but he doesn't have the credential of Joseph Tucker. Ortom wants to be the leader of a so-called Middle Belt. Ortom have not delivered democracy dividend to his people. He's not an exemplary leader that anybody can follow. Now he has turned himself to a Governor Wike's boy. Every day he's in Port Harcourt to receive lectures. So he has turned to a laughing, so we are laughing at him. And the good thing is that we still have very good relationship with eminent Tiv people. And we are working with them to see that Benue State is rescued from this misgovernance. So Ortom should prepare himself very well. We will meet. If he thinks he can frustrate us in local courts here, because he has money and sons, every time they want to mention our case, they will come with a new entrant. We want to join the matter. They will adjourn it until they succeeded in compromising the process. The first case we had now, they dismiss it on technical ground. They don't even mention it. A case that had to do with fundamental human rights, to just examine if this law is in conflict with our constitution. You say citizens cannot move freely, citizens cannot do their life. We just wanted an interpretation. He didn't allow that case. We have appealed it. We are hoping that the appeal court will listen to us.